Hello and welcome to Midnight Monologue, where the pages come alive after dark. I invite you to join me as we travel through the shadows. Get comfortable, dim the lights, look over your shoulder, and enjoy in the journey through some of the creepy and intriguing psychological phenomena and conditions. The uncanny valley. We use this term to describe an uneasy feeling people experience when encountering something that resembles a human but is not quite human. The effect is prevalent now more than ever with the rise of android and humanoid robots. It can also be observed in realistically animated characters. The mentioned human-like objects come close but do not reach the verisimilitude, the term that describes the appearance of being real. This can either be exploited or avoided by developers depending on which kind of response they want to elicit. For example, an animated movie where the characters might trigger the uncanny valley effect can be perceived as creepy or even invoke disgust. Developers usually avoid this. However, in horror movies it can contribute to the overall sense of dread that is expected from such genres. The term was first written about by Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori in 1970, who claimed to have been creeped out by wax figures ever since he was a child. He described the term that can be translated to Valley of Eeriness while observing the reactions people had about the electronic prosthetic hands being made. The English term as we know it today first appeared in a book by Josiah Reichardt titled Robots, Fact, Fiction, and Prediction. The studies of the effect and response of the affectees concluded that the level of dread and unease can even reach beyond the level of repulsion of viewing a corpse. In a way, we can explain this feeling as a built-in failsafe, helping us to avoid potentially dangerous or risky situations. Always trust your intuition. Gaze detection or perception. It's a biological phenomenon, sometimes described as a sixth sense, where we are hit by a feeling of a lurking threat when another person stares or looks at us for a longer period of time. It occurs when the viewer is out of our visual area. The science behind it bases its findings on results from a study on macaque monkeys from which they gathered which neurological circuits and cells are involved in the effect. However, the precise reason for it is unknown. In regards of brain activity, there are 10 brain regions involved with our sight, main one being the visual cortex, but neurologists suspect that other parts of the brain, such as the amygdala, which is the part of our brain that registers threats, must also be involved. Most likely the detection effect is a remnant of our ancestors who relied on their attentiveness to their surroundings for survival. While the gaze detection in itself is not an overly creepy phenomenon, it does bring a question to mind. Whenever you were walking alone on the street, or woke up suddenly in the middle of the night feeling uneasy, was someone or something watching you from the shadows? The Caputo effect. A study done in 2010 by researcher Giovanni Caputo by the University of Urbino and published in Perceptions revealed an unsettling effect named by its main researcher. The experiment found that when people stare at themselves in a mirror in a dimly lit room for a period of time, many of them start seeing other faces, in some cases even strange and scary ones. In the study, participants were asked to stare in a mirror for 10 minutes. The results were that 66% of participants noticed a deformation, usually on a large scale, of their own face. 48% experienced strange and terrifying beings, and 28% of the people involved in the study saw a face of a stranger. The phenomenon observed in the Caputo effect was first discovered in 1804 by physician Ignaz Troxler and therefore named the Troxler effect. The effect, researched by Troxler, describes the nature behind many of the optical illusions we encounter. For example, if you stare at a red dot in the middle of a circle, eventually the circle fades and disappears. Why? Our brain cannot process every sense and information at once, or in other words, it has selective processing. Therefore, it eliminates anything it deems unimportant by fading it out of sight. The same explanation can be applied to the specific occurrence Caputo studied. We can also connect many horror folk tales and the viral urban legend of Bloody Mary to the aforementioned effects. While I am tempted to try the effect, the childhood trauma version of me strongly resists it, since childhood me ran past mirrors for a year after shakily shouting Bloody Mary 3 times in the bathroom mirror. I do, however, dare you to try it and let me know the results in the comments. Disclaimer: I am not responsible for any traumatic experiences. Cotard delusion. It is a rare psychological condition, also sometimes popularly called the walking corpse syndrome or nihilistic delusion. The main symptom is the belief that the person or their body parts are decaying, dying, or non-existing. It is commonly associated with the philosophical belief of nihilism, which is essentially the belief that nothing is real or of any value. The walking corpse syndrome is usually accompanied by severe depression and some other psychotic disorders. The condition can be treated with therapy and medication, but it can lead to complications. For example, feeling like they already died can lead a person to stop taking care of their hygiene, intake of food and water, financial and other responsibilities, and even isolate themselves, which can dig an even deeper hole of depression and despair. According to statistics, suicides are also a common outcome of this delusion. The affected usually attempt suicide as a way to prove they are already dead, since they can't die again. Of course, this is not the only reason. Many people feel trapped and overwhelmed by this. Whatever the case, always take care of your loved ones and offer your support when needed. Apotemnophilia. A somewhat lesser-known condition, otherwise known as body integrity or amputee identity disorder, is defined by the desire for amputation of a healthy limb. Sometimes the desire is accompanied by the affected person exhibiting behavior of an amputee, or even connected to sexual arousal, though not necessarily. Similar to other body identity or dysmorphia conditions, people affected by it experience a strong feeling that their body needs to be modified in order for them to feel complete or satisfied. The exact reason for the occurrence of the syndrome is still unknown, but it is strongly connected with the individual's sense of identity, and in some cases even with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Because most professionals will refuse to amputate a healthy limb, people with apotemnophilia might resort to self-mutilation, which can be extremely dangerous and potentially deadly. We have come to an end of this video, and Midnight Monologue thanks you for watching. And don't forget a quick glance over your shoulder every now and then. Sometimes the shadows that cling to you aren't yours.